Hello once again, music fans. This is Peter Sco for Music is a Journey. I am continuing now with my pre-episode 36, where I'm going to be telling you about a lot of the Canadian bands that I picked up during the year. If you missed what this whole project is about, this is me seeking out newer Canadian bands, newer Canadian heavy metal, or metal bands anyway. And I just wanted to show that the metal scene is actually alive and well. And I'm looking for bands that I have never heard of before, relatively new bands, and I'm also looking for bands that represent different genres or subgenres of metal and bands from around the country. Okay, so in the previous video, I told you about a lot of the bands that I picked up out of the western provinces of British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. I just want to add a couple of more in here because there were a couple that I just very recently picked up from Bandcamp as download only. There is no CD available, and I originally did not want to be getting download onlys, but I ended up picking up a few anyway. So first of all, in the last video I told you about a band called Call of the Siren and an album called The Void. I'm afraid I got it mixed around. I said the band was The Void and the album was Call of the Siren. Sorry about that, band. I'll put their cover art here so you can see it nice and big. Anyway, that is now corrected. And another couple of things here. There is a band I was really interested in out of Alberta. They are called Villainizer. Okay, let's put it up here again. Villainizer doesn't exist anymore. And I mentioned them, I think, in one of those other, Quest for Canadian Metal videos. Thrash metal band, but really strongly anti-terrorist in a way. And a lot of the titles are kind of humoristic. Like one of their albums was I Bomb New York. Anyway, at that time, I think somebody in the band, they quit the band, they folded up the band and they destroyed all the CDs. They are available on Bandcamp. They have 3 albums with bonus tracks, all available for something like $6.99 Canadian. That's why I have this. Haven't listened to it yet. But anyway, yeah, they said that just that time, the guy said I was an angry young man and I changed my focus on things, and so I just wanted to leave Villainizer behind. So there was that. But anyway, certainly an interesting thrash metal band out of Alberta. Another band I wanted to mention, a couple more actually. I haven't listened to this yet. I talked about them before though. A band called Shooting Guns out of Saskatchewan. I don't remember if it's Regina or Saskatoon. I think basically an instrumental band, instrumental doom, stoner metal type thing here. So I finally got Brotherhood of the Ram. Again, I'll put the artwork here bigger. Haven't listened to it yet, but I remember checking them out and thinking that one or one other album of theirs I really had to get. And another band here that I have to mention is... here we go. This is Wasted Heretics, a death metal band out of Saskatoon. I only just listened to this while I was coming home tonight, so don't have a fully formed opinion yet. But anyway, Wasted Heretics. I'll put the artwork here. Yeah. Okay, I think that is it for... This is all stuff that I just picked up like the last couple of nights. Stuff that I had my eye on and didn't want to get because it was a download, but then I went and did it anyway. So, we'll look at some more downloads in a bit, but first I'm going to tell you about bands I picked up on CD from Ontario. This is a band called Borealis. This is their second album, Fall from Grace, going back to let's say 2017. I thought it was older than that. Anyway, they started out as a very much kind of European-influenced power metal band. This, their second album, they start to put more progressive elements in, and I heard that from their third album, Purgatory, they were more of a progressive metal band. I am thinking to order, I forget, either their first or their third album, but not quite yet. Maybe also the more recent one. They just put out an album, I think, last year, in 2019, I think it was. So anyway, this is Borealis out of Ontario, and I thought this album was pretty good in the beginning, and then the other day I listened to it again, and I suddenly felt, wow, okay, so actually this is really good. So, there we go, Borealis. Okay, then, now, I am looking for a 12 favorite bands that I'm going to present in the next video. And this band here, Cauldron, they seriously would have made it by this album here, New Gods. This band would have made it into the top 12. There's just one thing, and that is that I'm looking for kind of newer bands, and Cauldron formed back in the mid-2000s, so they are not new enough. However, I loved this album, New Gods. I bought their third album, Tomorrow's Lost. Haven't totally digested it yet. The recording volume on this is a bit low. It needs to be really cranked in order to hear the music well. However, I like them so much that I've gone ahead and ordered their second album, and I will order their fourth album later on. This is their fifth. So Cauldron, New Gods. Oh, I should tell you, this is basically your classic metal. This is like Dokken, Back for the Attack, Tooth and Nail maybe, or what do they call, Black and Blue a little bit, or Keel, that kind of thing, that kind of 80s metal style. Really good though, I really like it. Centuries of Decay, basically, well, they're said to be a progressive death metal band, but I find not progressive in the really technical sense, more progressive in the longer song concepts with different unexpected changes that come up in the music at times. A couple of songs where there are some clean vocals to go with the growly vocals. One song has this kind of clean guitar section that comes in that's quite surprising. Some other points along the way that I thought was really good. I found out about this band when I was looking for bands from Prince Edward Island. Now, Centuries of Decay is actually from Toronto. However, the drummer, and I think the guitarist and singer, anyway, they're brothers from Prince Edward Island. And one of them moved off to Toronto, and then the other one said, okay, I've got to go to Toronto and I want to form a band with my brother. And so they did. And they participated in the Wacken Canada division, I guess, of the Wacken International Metal Contest or something like this. They won for Canada in 2018 and went off to Europe for the final competition. So that's Centuries of Decay. Again, you can hear them on Bandcamp, so you might want to check them out there. One very interesting band I picked up, this is a band called Droid. They are a technical thrash metal band. Quite a strong Voivod influence in a lot of their stuff, that's for sure, if you think about Dimension Hatros and Nothing Face Days on this album. They had an EP, which they released in 2015. I think this is 2017. And the EP is a little bit different, but a lot of people scoring this fairly high musically, but saying that the vocals are a little bit one-dimensional. They're basically just this coarse shouting vocals, not so much variety to them. But the music is definitely there. We've got longer compositions, more technical playing, lots of cool riffs and stuff. This is Droid. And two of the members in this band, I think it's two of the members in this band, are actually in one of the bands that I have chosen for my top 12. So you'll hear about that band in the next video. Okay, Droid. Now here's another one out of Ontario. Well, they're all out of Ontario here. This one was quite interesting. This is a band called Electric Magma. They now have 6 albums out, although the last one, Silver Ball, was in 2016. Oh, I got the download. Yeah, their CDs are really hard to find. This is, I believe, their second album. It's called Karaoke Bitch Slap. There were a few of them available on Discogs, and I chose this one just because of the title. But anyway, yeah, instrumental stoner metal, doom metal type thing. Just this really good, deep, low, buzzy, fuzz tone guitar. 1 or 2 guitar tracks, a bass track, drum tracks. I think there's not much else to it, but pretty much straightforward, heavy, instrumental, stoner, doom metal type stuff. Quite good. That's why I went and ordered their latest one on download, and I will possibly try to track down another one. Their second most recent album is called Canadian Samurai 2. Okay. Here's a band called, it looks like Lutharo, but it has the umlaut over the O, so maybe it's Lutharo. Not sure. Basically a melodic death metal crossed with thrash metal band. They have only 3 EPs out. I like this one a fair bit. I did decide to check out their more recent one. I think it's called Wings of Agony. I thought it sounded even better, so I went ahead and ordered that. Haven't received it yet. I think it's just only been shipped out. But anyway, Lutharo on Bandcamp. You can also find they have videos on YouTube. Pretty cool band. This is Unleash the Beast from probably a couple of years ago. Anyway, there's that. Melodic death metal and thrash metal. Okay. Here we have Of Hatred Spawn, a death metal band. I really like this one here, and I think one of the members from this band is also in the band Skullfist, who are coming up in the stack. But yeah, death metal band, really good. And you know what? I'm finding out now that there are just so many death metal bands out of Canada. It's unbelievable. It's getting to the point where I really want to hear somebody do something different, because it's all this more or less typical what you'd expect from death metal. But fortunately for Of Hatred Spawn, they were one of the first ones I checked out, so I was impressed and I picked them up. There you have it. Only one album out so far, and I think there might actually be like an EP of 3 songs or something like that. So there you have it. Okay. Then, this band is certainly worth mention. This is a band called Oni. Iron Shore, they have this album, and they have an EP, I think, of a few songs as a download only. They are a technical death metal band mixed in with some bits of metalcore. I think they reminded me of if you take Between the Buried and Me and Dream Theater and make something out of that. Although not quite exactly like either of them. And one of the interesting points about Oni is that they have what is it now? Xylosynth player. Basically a guy playing the xylophone, but it's hooked up to amps and so on like that. So it often sounds like keyboards. In fact, sometimes it really does sound like Dream Theater with Jordan Rudess playing. But it's a guy playing xylosynth. And you can actually check him out. There's some, forgot his name now suddenly. But I'll put it down here, his name. There are actually some videos on YouTube of him playing the xylosynth along to the music of Oni. What does it say on here? The sticker... Oh, this guest vocals by Lamb of God's Randy Blythe on here. Oni scored a furious debut. Okay, a lot of good things to say about this on the internet. One thing, again, people don't like is the clean vocals. Some people say it has that whiny metalcore sound to it. So sometimes they sound okay, sometimes not so good. But anyway, music is terrific. Growly vocals are good. Oni, progressive death metal. Okay, I mentioned Skullfist, so here they are, Skullfist. This also could have been a top 12 band. Problem was, again, they formed a little bit outside of my range. I'm looking for bands that formed basically between 2010 and more recently. 2009 could be okay if their discographies are not too advanced. Skullfist have only 3 albums out so far. This is the first one, Head of the Pack. Great 80s classic metal sound, 80s classic metal album style with the band members on the back there. Soaring high vocals, lots of cool riffs, borderline speed metal in places. Just terrific stuff. If you really like that high-toned vocal and straightforward guitar playing band, a little bit like the debut album of Killer Dwarfs, just like a year or two later on, down the line, style-wise. Skullfist. This band was one of the first ones I came across because they were mentioned on a number of these lists of Canadian bands you've got to hear, Canadian albums that are really great, that kind of thing. Hello, Kurama. The cat has come in to tell me something. Alright, and then one other one out of Ontario on CD to mention, Thantifaxus. I think I pronounced the name wrong in my previous video. I might have just tongue-tied myself here. This is Sacred White Noise. They also have an EP out. This is a black metal band, but really aggressive and loud and sometimes kind of psychedelic, but in a really weird way. Impressive band anyway, but probably for a limited audience because this is pretty loud stuff. Please don't climb on the CDs, Mr. Kitty Cat. Please don't climb on the CDs. Please don't knock stuff on the floor. Okay, anyway, Thantifaxus. Yes, check them out on Bandcamp if you want to hear something really loud, really angsty black metal with some interesting other things in the music. The cat has joined me here in the video. Okay, let's move over to Quebec. No, let's not move over to Quebec yet. I forgot to mention BP Guan. Again, let's see, we got 2 albums and 3-song EP. You can get the whole lot from Bandcamp, full digital discography for about $7. So I did. No CDs available, unfortunately. This is sludge metal, really loud sludge metal, basically just bellowing growly vocals the whole time, really heavy pounding stuff. I'm not really sure how to tell the difference from one song to another, but very loud stuff there. B. Guan. And another band out of Ontario that I also picked up is Longhouse. I think this is either their second album or their first album, and there's an EP. Basically death doom metal, I believe. I actually haven't listened to it yet. I've only listened to samples of it. I just bought it the other day. No CD available, but anyway, Longhouse, really heavy, impressive stuff. Very dark, deep, growly vocals as well. So just thought I'd mention them. Okay, so now we can move on to Quebec. And since I've got the downloads out, let me just tell you about this one band from Quebec that I got. This is a band, where are you guys? Apparently I've bought a lot of stuff from Bandcamp recently. This is a band called Allelic. This is really folk black metal. I mean, when they go black metal, but it's pretty, almost like a kind of power metal, folk type, rousing cheer type melody to the vocals with the black metal guitars. But then outside of that, it's acoustic guitar, it's maybe some other kind of stringed instruments. It is like hand percussions. One song, it sounds like spoons, tapping spoons together. So really folky feel to it. Sometimes some flute or woodwinds. So you have this really strong contrast between the black metal chords, the growly, snarly black metal vocals, shrieky, whatever, and this kind of chanting going along with it, plus acoustic parts. Anyway, that's Allelic. I actually went ahead. Their albums, you just name your price. So I went ahead and got their other album as well as a 3-song EP thing that they had. So anyway, that's Allelic. Okay, albums that I bought on CD. I went ahead and checked out The Agonist. This is Eye of Providence, which I believe is their 4th album, featuring Vicky Sarakis on vocals. I really like her vocals as a melodic death metal vocalist. She sings beautifully in kind of high operatic tone. She has, of course, the more metal tone, and then she has the really growly death tone as well. The Agonist, of course, also originally had Alisa White Glues on there as vocals. I think I have a magazine around here with her on the cover. But anyway, yeah, she got an offer to join Arch Enemy, and when she did, the band basically thought, well, okay, so you're playing with them now, we need to get a new vocalist. And so they got Vicky in instead. And I think that's not exactly what Alisa intended, but anyway. The Agonist, melodic death metal, powerful stuff. Vicky is a great vocalist. The cat is now inspecting a paper bag that's on the floor. Cat. Okay, next up we have an experimental band out of Montreal. This is called Big Brave, with a vertical slash separating big and brave. An experimental band. There are 5 tracks on here. This is different. I mean, this is not music that you listen to when you really want to kick out the jams, brothers and sisters! A lot of repetition going on, female vocalist, a lot of repetition, kind of interesting. I think I was just intrigued. I liked the artwork, I was intrigued by what I heard, I bought it. If you're interested in something like that, kind of more experimental but heavy stuff, Big Brave, you might want to give them a listen. Now, it seems that somewhere around the mid-2000s, we had this classic heavy metal revival going on in Ontario and Alberta, and in Quebec, we got this progressive power metal sound, and here's Instanzia, with their one album, I believe, just one album, Ghosts, released back in 2011, I think it was. Very nice progressive power metal band. Great song. I mean, every song seems to, like, when they get to the chorus, it's just time to just get up and start singing along and swinging your mug of ale. That kind of stuff. It is like the most uplifting metal. Power metal has got to be. Like, most of metal is more or less and you know, but this is Instanzia. Good luck trying to find it, though. It's not so easy because it's been out of print for a while. Here's another band. I think they're called Car Chaos. Car Chaos. Maybe like a cross between Carcass and Chaos, maybe. This is one of 3 albums, Children of the Void. They have a more... This is their most recent one. And the singer on this album, I'm sorry, I've forgotten her name now, Vicky. Okay, I'll put her name down at the bottom. This album's from 2017. Yes, she has since left the band, and now the Morgan Lander from Kitty is now the singer of the band. Anyway, melodic death metal, again, very strong band. I was all ready to say, okay, these guys are going in the top 12, until I found out they actually formed way back in 2003 or something like that under a different name and changed the name later on. But, okay. They would have been perfect because they became Car Chaos sometime around 2012, and they only have 3 albums, so they should fit in. But the band is actually older. What can you do, huh? Okay. Then, okay, so this this progressive death metal, progressive folk death metal, here is Moonlight, their second and final album, Shining. They released 1 album, then they recorded this, the band broke up, and it was released after the breakup of the band. I got this for $2. I was buying a CD out of a store in Quebec through Discogs, and I thought, if the shipping is going to be the same for 1 or 2 CDs, let me just see if they have something cheap to pick up. I had come across Moonlight on a list somewhere on the internet, so I thought, okay, $2, I'll take it. And yeah, it's, you got growly vocals, you have clean vocals, you have rough vocals, you have female vocals, you have folk bits, you have progressive metal bits, you have power metal bits. There's just so much happening in here. Piano parts and acoustic guitar and flutes and everything, and just really well assembled and put together. It's not a mishmash, of course. It's been done very nicely, neatly. I had first almost kind of just passed by this, but I listened to it again. Actually quite impressive stuff. Phobocosm had to pick up. Death doom metal band, 4 tracks on here, roughly between 8 and 10 minutes each. Still haven't really digested it yet, but anyway, heavy and oppressive death doom metal, Phobocosm, out of Quebec. Here is actually an older band from 1999. This is a band called Sorcière de Glace. Sorcerer of Ice. They had an album out in 2000, they had one in 2006, and then 2011, and since then they've put out a few more, including one this year in 2020, which I have decided to order after Christmas. Reason being because ordering CDs around this time, you may not get them. Canada Post has extra help during this season, and not just Canada Post, but other places too. And some of these extra help people decide to take home small packages that were meant for other parts of the world. And anyway, this one here is The Purescence of Primitive Forests, the first Canadian black metal album I picked up on my quest this year, and I really liked it. It's good stuff, so I'm going to be checking out at least 1, if not 2 more albums by this band, Sorcière de Glace. Quebec is really a black metal haven as well. There are so many black metal bands from Quebec. And one final band to mention from Quebec here. These guys, an unfortunate story. This is Woods of Ypres. Final album, Woods 5, Grey Skies and Electric Light. The sad thing is that the main guy behind the band, put his name down here for you, he died in a tragic car accident only a month or so before this was released. And the ironic thing is that the lyrics of these songs are really a lot about death and leaving this world and enjoying your life in this world and forgetting about the dead and whatever. Everything. Kiss My Ashes Goodbye is one of the songs. Finality, career suicide, I don't know. Death is not an exit. And then he goes and dies before the album is released in a car accident. But anyway, this album showed up on a few lists of Canadian albums you must hear or great Canadian metal albums. The band wrapped up back in 2012. That's when this was released. So Woods of Ypres, Woods 5, Grey Skies and Electric Light. Okay, I think I will tack on the Maritimes as well. Otherwise, I'm going to come up with another short video later on. So let's get on to the Maritimes next. But I think I'm going to have to do that tomorrow. So I'm just going to stitch tomorrow's video with today's video. And you'll see it all as in one day. And the cat wants out. Okay, let's go to the Maritimes tomorrow. Okay, so now let's take a look at the bands that I discovered in the Maritime provinces. We're going to start from New Brunswick. Here is a band called Thorson Blot. You might wonder how they came up with this name. Apparently, it's also an anagram for narwhal butts. However, as I read in one interview, they are very much inspired by European metal, and they felt that any attempt for North Americans or Canadians to try to play like Europeans is only like a shadow of the real thing. And apparently the idea was that if you imagine some big, probably Scandinavian guy saying it's time for some thrash and blast, but saying it with his thick European accent, it's time for some thrash and blast. Ha ha ha. Hey, that's what the interview said. Anyways, Thorson Blot, they are basically a black metal, folk metal band. So there's a lot of this, you know, the black metal guitars, the full sound of black metal guitars, the kind of strong, not really shrieky, but you know, those coarse witch-like vocals. But also there are these kind of almost folk melodies in both the electric guitar as well as folk moments. I believe this band already has 4 full-length albums out and at least 1 EP. And one of their full-length albums is an entirely acoustic album. There is not a shred of black metal on there. But anyway, this one here is called, oh geez, Metachtonia, something like that. Anyway, it's a pretty cool album, and I will be checking out one of their other albums later on for sure. That's Thorson Blot from Nova Scotia, from New Brunswick. Also from New Brunswick, this is Zaum. This is atmospheric, meditative doom metal. 3 tracks, kind of like the old Yes albums. There's 1 track that's about 19 minutes, 18, 19 minutes, and then 2 other tracks around 10 minutes or so. What do we have here? 18 minutes, 8 minutes, and 13 minutes. Almost 14 minutes. Anyway, that is Zaum, and yeah, they do take their time. Like, the very first track on here, Relic, the first 4.5 minutes are just this kind of atmospheric build-up before the actual electric guitars come in, and then it's another couple of minutes before the first vocals come in. Vocals, again, these kind of, you know, hoarse, echoey, bellowing types, kind of black metal-ish and kind of death metal-ish. I'm hearing a lot these days where it's not really typical death metal and it's not really typical black metal. It's kind of like a meeting point in between. But anyway, that's Zaum, also from, where am I at? New Brunswick, right? Okay. They also have about 3 albums out now, I think. Okay, moving over to Nova Scotia. This is a band called Blackmore. This is a traditional metal band, a little bit on the speed metal side as well. A lot of these traditional bands have that kind of speed metal element. I actually thought that I might consider these for my top 12, except this is their second album. It's from 2012, and they actually formed around 2005. And I'm finding really that there are a lot of the bands that I'm checking out where I'm thinking, these guys are great, they're going to make it into my top 12. And then I take a look and, oh, they formed in 2005 or 2004 or 2006. And I'm starting to get the impression that there must have been some big Canadian metal explosion in the mid-2000s. Starting from a few years before, but really so many of the bands I've been checking out actually formed around 2005-ish. Yeah, so anyway, that's Blackmore. I'm getting to like their album. This is Lethal Waters. It was good when I first heard it. I'm getting to like it more and more. So like I said, they almost made it into the top 12. It's just that they're a little bit too old. And here's another band, same kind of thing. This is Holocaust. This is blackened thrash metal, basically. Really intense, fast, hard-hitting thrash metal with a kind of black metal element to it. And I listened to this again the other night, and I'm trying to search for the 12th band. I have 11 bands picked. I was searching for the 12th one, and I thought, yeah, this album, this is really cool. Great, really intense thrash metal. These guys are going to be my choice. And as it turns out, they also formed around 1999, 2000. So, too old. But Holocaust from Halifax, Nova Scotia. Apparently, there's quite a strong black metal scene from Cape Breton Island. Isolation. But anyway, here we go. And then we're going to hop over to Prince Edward Island. And I bought this basically because, well, I liked it. I listened to it. I liked it. I thought it was good. But hey, how many metal bands are there from Prince Edward Island? There are probably a few. This is the only one I actually knew about. This is Death Valley Driver, Graveyard Dead. I think they have 2 albums and an EP. However, I'm not sure what they're doing these days. This album actually goes back to 2013. Basically a kind of groove metal band, but with not death metal vocals, but pretty coarse, tough vocals. And the one video I saw of these guys, they seem to all be interested in wrestling, which might explain this mask on the skull face here. Death Valley Driver. Pretty cool, heavy, groovy stuff. Neat. Alright, Death Valley Driver, Delta Diver. Death Valley Driver from Prince Edward Island. Alright, now we move on to Newfoundland. And I'm telling you, in the beginning, I was searching high and low for Newfoundland. Found a few bands, checked them out. Some of them didn't exist anymore. I thought there's got to be something. And then I discovered, as I think I've already mentioned at least twice before, the Heavy NFLD YouTube channel and website, which just has so much stuff from Newfoundland and Labrador, which is heavy metal, hard rock, hardcore, heavy, I don't know, ambient, experimental, electronic, anything that's kind of like heavy and brr. And I found a whole bunch of bands, and the first one that I went ahead and got is a band called Allagash. This is their 2019 second album, Cryptic Visions. Basically a thrash band. They're called thrash, but there's some other elements in there that are not just thrash. Some of it's more speed metal. There's been word that there's been hints of black metal in there as well. Allagash is named after a place in Maine, Allagash County, where I think it was during the 1970s there were some reported alien encounters, alien abductions. And on this album, the final track, which is something like, oh gosh, it's dark blue against black. But anyway, the final track actually has a playback, a recording of the person telling about what happens during the abduction, what happened to him, and saying basically like, this is real, this happened. If you believe me, okay. If you don't, I don't care. This really happened. But anyway, it's a pretty cool album. They have a previous one and an EP, and then they have a compilation out just this year, which is actually a compilation of their debut and EP, which are download only. Anyway, here's the CD, Allagash Cryptic Visions from St. John's, Newfoundland, which is actually quite a heavy metal center, because here's another one. This is Category 6, War is Hell. This is their second album, and I think they also had a demo or something. They're on Killer Metal Records now. This is from 2017, which I think is their most recent release as well. Female vocals. Oh man, I actually had a postcard with her around here now. I forgot her name. Drat. Okay, I have to put it down here at the bottom. But anyway, yeah, basically traditional heavy metal band, lots of traditional heavy metal guitar playing, but a little bit on the power metal side as well, and a little bit on the thrashy side too in places. So yeah, there's that. Basically really 80s like metal, great vocalist, cool guitarist. Category 6 from St. John's, Newfoundland. Okay, I mentioned this one also previously in one of my Canadian Quest for Canadian Metal videos when I was actually acquiring this stuff. This is a group called Oceanic. Their second album, Trappist, also their last album because they broke up, because they can't play, because of the bloody virus. But anyway, this is not really metal. If you imagine animals as leaders without the heavier stuff, just all that really tricky guitar playing on the clean side. These guys should be like, I don't know, guitar prog band masters that everybody should bow down to almost kind of thing. They're really good. The music on this is really smart, cool, wicked, that kind of animals as leaders without the heavy stuff. Progressive band, oceanic, Trappist. If you can get a hold of it, it's worth it. Just check it out on Bandcamp. It's there. Okay, then. These guys are way too old to actually make it into my top 12, but this is a band called Chevy. I think it's S-Heavy or Chevy. The Electric Sleep from, I think, 98, and Celestial Hi-Fi. Yes, which is the album after this. I think this is their second and third, or third and fourth. Basically a stoner metal type band. The riffs are Sabbath-esque, but not exactly like Black Sabbath, but the vocals really sound like classic Ozzy Osbourne from the early 70s. Sometimes it's uncanny how similar it sounds. But anyway, just really good, you know, that heavy, fuzzy, old style, old school type guitar and these heavy stoner metal riffs. These two albums I was able to buy from the same person on Discogs. Really cool. There are still other CDs available. The band hasn't released anything for a while, but they are still listed as active. So maybe something else will come out. Okay. Hey, there should be one more here. Oh yeah, here it is. Wizards of Chaos. Basically another stoner metal band, but a little bit more on the kind of more, I don't know what, like a little more not happy, but upbeat in a way. Just, maybe this is just really cool stoner metal stuff you can listen to while fixing up your car engine or driving around with the girl with the cut-off jeans and the tight t-shirt in your car or something. Just really cool stuff. Yeah, I mean, there is just so much coming out of Newfoundland and presumably Labrador as well. Now, there's one other band I wanted to mention. It's a band called The Combine. I watched a couple of their videos. They had one really cool one where they're flying in a spaceship, and it's done like science fiction drama, and they get captured and taken aboard this alien spacecraft, and it's really well done. It looks like a science fiction drama short version. And the band broke up because they can't play because of that bloody virus. But anyway, I was able to order directly from one of the band members their second and third album on CD. They have 3 albums out. And it was shipped October 24th, and it is now December 6th, and I still don't have them. I really hope they're just delayed in the mail, because there's been a lot of stuff delayed in the mail these days. Things arriving 2 to 3 weeks late. I really hope they're not lost, because that would suck. But anyway, The Combine. If you have a chance, check them out on Bandcamp, check them out on YouTube. And that, I think, pretty much does it for the stuff that I bought. Of course, I still have bands that I want to check out, still have albums I want to get. Some of the bands I talked about, I want to get more of their stuff. Really lots of cool stuff. But the next video is where I'm going to talk about my picks for the 12 bands that really just stood out for me above all these others. And I'm telling you, it was not easy, because a lot of these bands were just really good. They just turned out to be a little bit too old for my list. And other ones that were young enough were also really good. But there were just some that I found that were better. So I'll talk about them in the next video. And for now, thanks for watching this whole thing. Hope you will check out some of these bands. See you in the next one in a couple of weeks. Okay, bye.